Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Rewind That. It's your girl, Miss K. If this is your first time coming across my channel, welcome. Please be sure to subscribe if you like the vibe and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload more videos like this one. Okay guys, after watching what I thought was a very lackluster mid-season finale, there are still some events that took place in this episode that are worthy of further discussion. And that especially goes for Tariq'S hallucination sequence, okay? Now, this is not the first time that we've seen Tariq have an experience where we're able to see what's going on with him psychologically, right? In season 2, we saw him dream of a classroom full of dead people, and as he tried leaving the room, Lauren appears and Tariq stops her from entering the classroom. Many people analyzed that the dream meant Tariq tried to save Lauren from death but failed, while many others, me among them, figured that the dream meant that Lauren was still alive, okay? Now, since that particular dream sequence held great significance to the story, it might be safe to say that Tariq's hallucination sequence in this episode is equally significant and foretelling, okay? Now, after posting a comment about my dissatisfaction with this episode, I got a couple of comments stating that Tariq would die by Diana's hands simply because she shot at him in the hallucination. But so did Kane, and before the sequence ended, Tariq shot himself, okay? Now, with that being said, I cannot co-sign with Diana deleting Tariq because a lot happened in the hallucination. This doesn't mean that she won't do it, but like I said, a lot happened in this hallucination that we need to break down, okay? Now, as I watched the sequence, I gathered that we were watching a lot of Tariq's fears play out more than anything else, okay? He knows that Kane has wanted him dead for the longest. So having a vision of Kane shooting him isn't outlandish, okay? A vision of Diana could also represent his fear of having a child with someone he doesn't trust. Now, this is also normal due to his history with Diana and the Tejada family for that matter, okay? It's not, nor has it ever been, a good relationship between them, okay? Now, the vision of his son all grown up, coming to meet him at a club where Tariq wears the same suit his father wore when Tariq deleted him, that could represent the fear that his own son will take him out just like he did his dad, Ghost, okay? But here's the twist in all that. When Tariq talks to his son, we don't see his face, even while the kid is pointing a blicky at him, okay? Now, we hear the son tell Tariq that he is in the way of Tariq's future, which could also symbolize the fear that Tariq has of becoming a father, because a child would only get in the way and further complicate things, all right? Plus, we already heard Diana screaming in the vision saying, "You promised me, Tariq, you promised me." But in reality, we heard no such promise come from Tariq's mouth. So why does it appear in his vision? Maybe because in a previous scene, Diana let Tariq know that she wasn't going to allow anybody that was in the game to be in her child's life, all right? So this means that Tariq already knew about Diana's condition to bringing a child in this world. So it could be that in Tariq's subconsciousness, he already had a plan to lie to Diana about leaving the game. After all, lying is in Tariq's nature, right? But after everything that happened in the hallucination and seeing the consequences of that lie, he decided to be honest about his real plans later on, which was to stay in the game, but ensure that he was on top, okay? Because that was apparently the message that he got out of the vision, which was that nothing can kill you when you're at the top of the game. So yeah, that's one way to look at it, okay, guys? But let's get back to this hallucination sequence, okay? After Tariq's son tells him that he's in the way of Tariq's future, Tariq now has a gun in his hand and points it at his son and pulls the trigger. That's when we hear the whole thing about "you can't kill me, nothing can," all that stuff, right? But neither here nor there because it shot a blank, okay? But what I really want to talk about is how the son quickly turns into an image of Tariq. So now Tariq is looking at an image of himself in street clothes. But he still says, right, the Tariq with the suit on, he still says, "Who the heck are you?" And so now my question is, when do we ever look in the mirror and ask ourselves who we are unless we're having an identity crisis? Like, Tariq clearly knew that he was looking at himself, but because he is questioning who he is, he had to ask. In this episode, the idea of an identity crisis was brought up, okay? But it pertained to Drew, not Tariq. But that doesn't mean that Tariq isn't having one, right? During the hallucination, Street Tariq tells Business Tariq that I'm everything you could be once you stop doubting yourself. He also tells Tariq to be the man your father was afraid to be. And we're going to put a pin in that one right there, okay? But let's move on, okay? So since this season started, we've already seen Tariq question his life and the things he thought he knew, right? We heard him admit that he thought he was smarter than everyone else when he couldn't believe that he'd been outmaneuvered by his enemies. We even heard him question if being in the game was worth all this trouble, okay? And we're also starting to see that Tariq might be realizing that his own ideologies about his father may have to be reconsidered. But I don't know if he's really going to do that, okay? But I'll say this. Instead of having so much disdain for Ghost, he should be trying to find out why his name commands so much respect even in death, okay? Now, if it weren't for Ghost's reputation, Tariq probably would still be looking for a supplier, okay? Now, let's go a little further, okay? In a separate episode, Zion asked Tariq if he was like Ghost, who could fix a problem before it became one, right? After the hallucination sequence, Tariq believes that in order to prevent trouble from coming his way or to prevent the deletion of his family, he has to become the apex predator, which means he will be at the top of the food chain. This is, of course, the stupidest resolve that I've ever heard, guys, yet Tariq is convinced that it's the best course of action for him. Now, I would like to say that if Street Tariq is telling Business Tariq that he needs to be the man his father was afraid to be, this could mean that Tariq's perception of Ghost continues to be warped, and the consequences of listening to Street Tariq may prove to be dire for him, okay? This is because Street Tariq still doesn't admire or respect Ghost, which will keep Tariq bound in this identity crisis until he fully recognizes who his father was, not as a man or a father, but as a hustler. Tariq won't really be able to take on this apex predator persona, okay? Now, we do hear that after this hallucination, he believes that by taking on the good and bad parts of his father, he will have success, okay? But if he doesn't really know who Ghost is, how could this be possible? It's that Street Tariq, guys, that he needs to get out of his head, okay? Now, speaking of Street Tariq, as we saw in the hallucination, Street Tariq hugs Business Tariq, then puts the hammer to his head and pulls the trigger, okay? For some of you guys, this may signify that Tariq is deleting the doubtful or insecure side of him so that he can become the apex predator. But I believe that while this could be true, this also symbolizes that Tariq will be the primary reason for his own demise, okay? His decision to become the apex predator is a faulty one. Plus, it's unrealistic to believe that drug lords don't ever meet their end, right? However, Tariq thinks that this is the best way to control his life. But if Tariq hasn't learned by now that there are just some things in life that can't be controlled, then his plan to be the apex predator will come crashing down much sooner than I expect, all right? Look, guys, I believe that Tariq is no longer this smart kid who was able to come up with elaborate schemes to outwit his ops, okay? I believe this because there has been no growth in him, okay? As a young man, as a character, all right? And there is no growth because Tariq has no real guidance, which is why his decision making will continue to be a problem. Sure, we see him getting ideas from lectures at school and stuff like that, but how far can those ideas go without a seasoned vet in the game to teach him how to properly apply those strategies, okay? On top of that, Tariq won't hit a growth spurt until he learns to take accountability for his actions. For example, in this episode, after losing a game against Brayden, Tariq gets upset and throws the controller. Brayden wasn't too happy about this, and he lets Tariq know, like, listen, man, don't be throwing that controller. That's a very expensive controller that I just bought, okay? So Tariq apologizes with a tone of sarcasm, indicating that he has bigger problems problems to worry about than a stupid controller. But how ironic was it that once Tariq starts to vent to Brayden about his problems, he brings up the fact that he has no control over his life, okay? Not only that, when Tariq loses the game against Brayden, he doesn't take any accountability. Instead, he gets mad, throws the controller, and blames the car for being too slow when he was the one controlling the car. Very poorly, might I add, okay? In this particular scene, we're kind of seeing that similar to real life, Tariq's head wasn't in the game that he played against Brayden, right? And the car that he controlled was swerving all over the place. Unlike Brayden, whose car cruised to the finish line, okay? So if we're comparing them, Tariq and Brayden have both suffered losses, but Brayden would rather focus on rebuilding and celebrating the wins, while Tariq wants to rebuild, still count the losses, and plot revenge at the same time, okay? But guys, the bottom line is Tariq has a lot going on, and it's causing him to be unfocused. And as long as he's unfocused and he's all over the place and his focus is actually in the wrong place, it's going to continue to make him make very poor decisions, okay? And that accountability factor, it has to take place. Like, I don't think we'll really see him hold himself accountable for anything until it's too late. Like, I haven't really seen any regret for deleting his father. There's always an excuse of why he did it and a justification instead of like any real true remorse. So I think that once we see that, if we see that, that's probably when we're going to get closer to his demise, okay? Now, before I get out of here, guys, I want to quickly discuss how Tariq hugged himself during his vision, right? Now, I found a few interpretations of what it could possibly mean to hug yourself in a dream. Even though Tariq was hallucinating, we're going to just go by the dream interpretation, okay? Now, I found a few interpretations, but this one had a full article on the different possibilities of what the dream could mean, different interpretations and stuff like that. I actually came across one that said something about if you have a dream of hugging yourself, it means that you need to watch your back. And I was thinking to myself, that would be befitting, but I'm not going to use that because I think it came up on Reddit or something like that. So this one is actually from the dreammeaningexplorer.com. And so I'd rather use that than somebody that was just posting a random thing on Reddit. Okay, so here's what I found. One possible meaning behind this type of dream is self-love and acceptance. It could be a sign that you need to embrace yourself and your flaws without judgment or criticism. You might have been feeling insecure or stressed recently, and dreaming of hugging yourself serves as a reminder to love and accept who you are. I would definitely take that interpretation because we do see, like I said, Tariq being doubtful. We hear street Tariq telling father Tariq and business Tariq that I am who you will become once you stop doubting yourself. So yes, this is indicating that Tariq is in an identity crisis, okay? Now, another interpretation relates to comfort and safety. If you're going through a difficult period in your life, such as facing challenges at work or experiencing relationship problems, this dream might indicate that you long for a sense of security and stability. Hugging yourself represents the desire to provide that feeling of comfort and reassurance. So this also pertains to Tariq as well, as we see that he does not feel safe. He is explaining to Brayden in this episode that I literally have no control over anything in my life. So yes, he is longing for security and stability. Okay. Now, another interpretation says that hugging oneself in a dream can represent a lack of self-esteem or confidence. You might feel unsure about your abilities or worth, leading to doubts about yourself in various aspects of life. This dream serves as a gentle reminder that you need to work on building up your self-confidence and believing in yourself more. Okay, so pretty much all of these interpretations that I've read to you guys are spot on when it comes to Tariq. Now, for me, that really caught my eye. Like, I know a lot of people are pointing out the fact that Diana was, trying to shoot him in the hallucination and stuff like that. But to me, what stood out most was him hugging himself and him clipping himself. So that's what I really took out of it, guys. Street Tariq telling himself, I think you always knew it would come to this. It lets me know that it's a slim chance that Tariq will have success overall. Okay, now guys, the symbolism in this episode I thought was pretty cool, but as a mid-season finale, it just didn't serve. Okay, but with that all being said, let me know what y'all thought about the symbolism in the hallucination sequence that Tariq had, what you think it means for him, and if you think he's making it out of this thing alive. I have already predicted that with Tariq saying that nothing can kill him, I'm thinking that it's possibly going to be a drug overdose. I said this last week, and with the theme of drug use going on in this particular episode, I feel like my theory was further confirmed. But, you never know, right? We'll have to just see what happens. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys thought about this video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload more videos like this one. Until next time, take care and be blessed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.